Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thank you for joining this live stream with myself, Jordan, and Michal. Uh, Michal, thank you for agreeing to join this stream. So I guess maybe you can share a few words about yourself, who you are, what you write about, what you do.
Okay, so my name is Michał Poczwardowski. That's a pretty difficult last name to pronounce for everyone. But Michał is fine. It's Polish Michael. I write about decision making and mental models. My newsletter is called Perspective Ship, and I spent over almost 9 years leading engineering teams, and I took all the lessons and tried to distill them into the articles. So I'm kind of decision making guy, I would say. I'm passionate about improving decisions and writing about them. So I guess we'll talk a bit about decision making today. So thank you very much for invitation, Jordan, and happy to be here. And thanks people for joining the live stream. Pleasure to be
Awesome.
here.
Thank you so much as well. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Michal and I have been friends for, I don't know, a few years now and been
Two
all the
years.
way. Yeah, I guess so. But we
When we
have
started
never met
writing,
in
right?
person. Say
You
again?
what?
We've never met in person though.
No, not yet. We are
Yeah.
close because you were traveling to London at some point, right? And I was visiting.
Yeah, I do that a few times a year. Uh, but yeah, we've been meeting regularly, and Michal, I the first time I've actually heard about mental models was from you. So for somebody who is new to this space overall, maybe can you describe what a mental model actually is?
So I will start with my story, how I started writing about mental models, and how I discovered them. So long time ago, I was working as an engineer. And as an engineer, you've got all these helpers to solve your problems. You go to university, you learn all these design patterns, you go from Gang of Four and all of that, and you know how to apply them in your programming work. So you take some frameworks, you take libraries, you just read documentation, you know how to apply them. But then I was promoted to be a manager, and then all these tools that I had as being a programmer were lost. So I wanted to solve problems now with people and how they behave, how to motivate them, work with them, and all of that. And I needed something that fills the gap that I was missing while being an engineer. So I was looking for something that can replace these design patterns from programming into thinking and solving problems with people and with organizations. So that's how I discovered meta models. So basically, meta models are something similar to design patterns from programming, but essentially these are like questions that you should ask when you are solving problems. Some thinking patterns. Some, I think, basically it boils down to asking good questions about your thinking process. And there are many different meta models from different categories. They were taken from different fields of from physics, chemistry, inertia, for example, is meta model from physics. So what we are doing with meta models is that we are taking them from their domain, like inertia, and we try to apply them to solving problems. So that's how does it work. Originally, I think the first one who coined the term mental model was Charlie Munger. So he was writing about how it's really important to have some kind of set of mental models to solve problems. So that's my definition of mental models, and that's how I use them. Uh, so yeah, basically design patterns for solving problems and rather thinking rather working with code.
I love that. Essentially, it's you took some lessons from what people do in, as you said, chemistry, and that helps you do your job better. In engineering management, engineering leadership. That's a very very good thing. I like that.
It's called I think some people say it like multidisciplinary thinking. So we are trying to take the best concepts from one domain and implement them in the domain that we need. So and I think you can see it for people who, for example, switch their professions. So I know they were working as a programmers, now they are working as a designer. So they took they're taking some of thinking patterns from one domain and trying to do them in another. So that's similar with mental models. That's how
Oh,
it works.
I like that. So, okay, let's say, you observe somebody who has, this very structural, very clear thinking. What are the specific traits you see in those people?
I think it's really difficult to observe how people are thinking because that's on their end, right? And that happens just in their head, and we cannot fully like observe how they are thinking. But I think, and what I heard, but that's heard in interviews and all of that from like the smartest people in the world. I think they always try to have some protocols that they use for thinking and apply them on a daily basis. And they have some set of rules that try to use. And for example, it might be a rule that I never estimate anything during on a call with the client, right? Because it's something that you are doing on the fly, and it might be wrong. You might be prone to I know some pressure from the client to say it's like 1 week instead of 2 weeks because they're looking at you and you don't know what to say, so you say 1 week. So I think what distinguish people who are a bit more aware of their thinking process is that they can like notice it, like meta observation of their own thinking processes. And for example, they may have this rule like I never estimate during a call. So Jordan, sorry, I won't tell you how much does it take. I need to analyze it and I will tell you in 2 hours, for example. So this kind of small stuff compounds to what I would call thinking clearly. But of course, it really depends. And your question was how would I distinguish these people? So I think like the best thinkers have this meta observation of their own brains and what they're doing and how they're thinking and why they are thinking this. And I think it's a superpower because usually we're just making decisions and living our lives without noticing our thoughts. So I think the most structured, like the most structured and most like clear thinkers, if we could say like call them this way, are people who are a bit more aware about their thinking process. And I think it's possible and we can achieve it. I'm not saying like I'm an expert on anything. I'm as normal as everyone when it comes to thinking. But there are some tips and tricks that we can use to make it easier for us to notice our thinking patterns and notice what, for example, these rules. Like I never estimate during a call. That might be a good rule to apply and it might work as our default, for example, for our thinking process. So yeah, that's
Nice.
and what do you think about something like structural thinking? Did you notice some people that were behaving this way? Or
Yeah, I think it's about, you know, you mentioned something about school, university, and things like this. I'm terrible at math. I can't calculate, but I'm very good with the foundations, the processes. And what we were taught in school was that when you have this big problem that you don't really understand, you need to find the first principles. You need to find these how to break the problem into small pieces. To me, people who have this structural thinking are good into finding the patterns and breaking these problems into smaller pieces, and that way they, in a sense, find the frameworks, the decision patterns, as you said, the design patterns, and that makes them very, very good in decision making and clear structural thinking, really. So yeah.
actually, what you just have said, I mean, thinking about first principles is also a mental model. You can say first principles is like established mental model that people use. So exactly to dig as deep as you can to the origin, what's behind it, and
Yeah, you actually had an article about that. I remember this one. I loved this article a lot.
so you read it on Perspective Ship, you say?
Of course, yeah.
So nice, thanks.
Yeah, I read your newsletter, like religiously. I love this one.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate.
Yeah.
Good work.
By the way, folks, thank you everybody for joining. Michael and I are talking about structural thinking, clear thinking, and making your decisions undeniable if you wish. If you have any questions, comments, please post them in the chat. We'll try to answer anything, everything. So Yeah, thank you for being with us. Now, Michal, you know, there are those people who, again, when we talk about people with structural thinking, there are people who constantly make always, you see them, they're always making great decisions, always are on the right spot. And there are people who are constantly reacting to chaos. And why is that what makes those people different? Why some people are having these great decisions, really?
To be honest, I think it's difficult to say that someone is making this like only good decisions, because I think it just boils down what I have just said about like we cannot observe how many. I mean, we just see good results and good decisions. Like, I mean, I think it's also like a paradox of luck, because we notice all these millionaires and all of these successful people, but we don't see the bad decisions they made, or how lucky they were. So I think that's one thing. So to be honest, I don't know if there are people who are making like only good decisions, um, because they may be good at business, but not so great at different domains, right? But I think what is quite important is like decision, and I think it's like something that's commonly misunderstood, is that good decision leads to good outcome always. And it's a myth, because I believe, I mean, decision can be really good, but the outcome might be bad because some unexpected something happened, for example. So I think it's really important to distinguish decision making process from the outcome that we are having out of it. Because, for example, like you mentioned, all the successful people, some of these decisions maybe they were really stupid and really bad, but they get lucky and the outcome was good. So I think it's really important when you have the decision process structured and you know that you're making a good decision. Uh, the key point is, and key understanding is, that you shouldn't uh, like be really like sad when the outcome is bad, basically. So you like having the decision on the one hand and outcome on the other hand, it's really important to distinguish these two. So, and I think that's also in this question that you ask. So these people, maybe all these decisions that people made weren't the greatest. They may get lucky. I mean, something unexpected happened. They found like really cool investor, someone, and all of that. So I think it's really important to make sure that our decisions are according to some structure that we are using, and then the quality of that structure is good, and we can say it is a good decision. But still, good decision can result in a bad outcome, right? And like the simplest example is like with investing. If you take all your savings, I mean, I don't know, sell your house and put everything, buy some super fancy crypto coin, right? Or for all your money, that's a quite stupid decision, right? In general, you shouldn't keep all the eggs in one basket. But on the other hand, this cryptocurrency, for example, might explode in value, and you'll be super rich, right? But still, the outcome was good, but the decision was poor. And I think that's important to distinguish this in general.
Okay, I like that. So in a sense, you can have, let's say, if we put this into an engineering perspective, if you have one decision in two different teams, the same decision for one team might work very, very well. For another team, it can turn out bad. Although those teams seems to operate in a similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I like that. Okay, makes sense. I like that. Uh, hmm. Okay, so in that case, if you have this massive problem, right, that you need to solve, and you need to make this decision that hopefully will turn out good for you. What is the first step that you take? Do you have like a specific checklist or something?
So it really depends how big and demanding the problem is. and sometimes, and I'm like I said, I'm ordinary, and if something is super complex, I might procrastinate because that's what we do when there's super complex thing in front of us. We want rather procrastinate that just fight with this monster. So in general, I try not to procrastinate, but sometimes I do. As I guess, that's what I do in general. Not in general sometimes, but when the problem is massive, I think the good thing is to just try to make it smaller and less intimidating. So try to just split it into much smaller tasks or much smaller decisions that we need to make. And to be honest, I also started talking with AI about this kind of stuff. And AI is pretty good in like making chunks of big stuff to do in a smaller one, just for like the sake of looking how it might be split into smaller things and smaller tasks, and then it doesn't look that intimidating to you. So when I'm faced with something really massive and complex, I try to like first split it into smaller chunks and see what I can do with it. The first chunk might be just research how other people solve this problem or similar problems, right? So it's doable, for example. So of course, there are so many different problems, and I'm not thinking right now about anything specific, which might be not imprecise, but still uh, chunking the problem. And I'm a huge fan of writing things down because I believe thinking on paper, and when you put all your thoughts on the paper, it's making invisible what's just in your head visible on the paper. So that's it's like a magic. You put your thoughts, which are just some neural connection what you have in our head. It's totally abstract. It's difficult even to imagine how our words and everything is built inside this magnificent machine. And we put it. Sorry, it's not a machine. It's a biological structure. So we put everything that we are having in our brain on the paper, and then magic happens because we can see our thoughts, which was impossible some time ago, right? Some time ago, given how our humanity evolved, all that, going a bit in the philosophy and all that. But still, so back to the topic, Jordan. Sorry for rambling. But we are taking everything that's in our head and putting on the paper, and I believe that seeing our thoughts is some kind of revelation that we can expect. That we can see, and then putting things down can show us what we are thinking, how we are thinking about given thing, and then we can also take care of just our own understanding of the complex problem. So to answer a question briefly and shortly, is chunking things and then writing down just to understand and see what's inside this big complex thing that we need to face. That would be the answer. And then, of course, we can apply some of the mental models and try to do something with them. But in general, the first step for me would be to chunk it, so it's not that intimidating, and write what we are seeing and what we are thinking about this given problem. And what are you doing with complex tasks that you are facing?
Yeah, same thing really. Breaking it down into small chunks, trying to find pieces where I already know the solution, so to speak. Something that already worked for me, something that I know how to work with. That's what I'm trying, literally breaking into small pieces. I'm thinking about this. I always think about this as if you build a product, in software engineering, data engineering, whatever. What you do is you don't go somewhere, hide yourself for a year, and then come up with a big, massive solution. What you do is usually you build something small, do something small, check how it works, get the feedback, and go with the next step. So that way I break the problem as well. I know what the first step is and then go with the next one and the next one. If something doesn't work well, it's easy to revert or, pivot and then go to the next one until the whole thing is solved.
I like what you're saying about the acting, right? Acting is much more important than just not my, that's the wrong wording, but acting is important because then we can validate what we are thinking about given stuff, right? So there's something called I think from Clear Thinking by Shane Parrish, the book. So you should make a decision as late as possible. So you gather all the intel, but not no longer than that. So acting at some point is really essential. Like you said, no, you shouldn't just run away for a year and think about something and then get back, but try to act and iterate on it.
Yeah,
And actually, it shows you what validates your thinking, right? Action is ultimately the something that validates what we're thinking about.
true. Yeah. But at the same time, you mentioned something about procrastinating. So you have this unique practice about pausing when you need to make these big decisions in your work, in your life. Can you walk us through, you know, what you do, how it works for you? Why is it effective, really?
I wrote an article called that pause like it's like thinking superpower or something like that, and I think it's really a superpower. And a lot of misunderstanding and conflicts between people result from not having this ability to pause. For example, is someone I mean you're angry and someone I mean you have some arguing with going on with someone, and because of the emotions and all of that you say stupid things to them and all of that, and it really like make things worse in general, especially in organizations. So I think pausing and just letting your all these emotions calm down a bit is really important. But it also brings us. I mean, we going back to the example that I've set about not estimating on a call, for example. It's also a form of pausing, so giving you space to make decisions. So I think essentially pausing is like a tool that you can use to really find the space for evaluating the problem and thinking about the problem for a bit longer. So that's why pausing is super powerful. Like, hold on, Jordan, I will answer in 10 seconds. I have to think about what I should say, right? So it is really important, especially from the points of our biases and points of our emotions. And sometimes just having a walk with some kind of decision or helps a lot, and we can just think it through. So pausing is really important, and I think it's like really good tool to have in your toolbox of decision making. So I encourage everyone to try this and pause at some point and not rushing to do things. Of course, it's not like we told about procrastination, right? Pausing not that long, but I mean, it depends on situations, right? But sometimes saying I'm not estimating during a call and I will get back to you in an hour is enough. Pause, for example, for in given situation where clients are asking for something.
I actually like that because, when what you mentioned in, about estimations, getting back to this is very good because we, I personally have been like that for a long time when you essentially feel rushed to always give people answer, always make the decision, whereas, pausing actually gives you more time to think, more clarity. So I like that a lot.
Yeah,
People are
but like
actually
you said, not too
willing to
long.
wait. Sorry?
I mean, not too long, right? Pausing, but it's not like stop. It's like just pausing in a moment on a song. We just click pause, let's stop, and then play, and we continue with our thinking.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to decisions in that case, you pause, you gather some information, you might have a lot of information. How do you decide which information is essential and what is basically just distraction, just noise?
So it really depends on cases, right? And I think it's a difficult question to answer because it's really context based. But I think it also boils down to the thing that you said about acting, right? So sometimes it might be easier to do the other way around. So first list what information you need to make this decision, right? So list like I need to know these five things, and then assume acting when you have all these five things, right? It might be also asking someone who's more experienced, like outside of your circle of competence, where this by the way, circle of competence is also mental model. I mean, but that's just a phrase that we can use, right? But quite universal. So I would list what I need first, or what I think I need, and then try to validate whether it's enough or no. So be more active. I mean, because you said that it's when I imagined the question, it was like information are bombarding us from all over, right? But it's better to pause. I mean, again, pausing and just listening what I might need to decide, and then acting when I gather like this 5 or 6 piece of information. I think that would my good approach in this kind of case, but it really depends on the situation, right? It's so difficult to. I mean, that we are making a lot of decisions every day. I think I read some studies that is living like 100 of informed decisions every day, something like that. I think might be wrong, but I think that's. I mean, I don't have any data in front of me, so I might be lying. We can double check that after the live, but in general, it really depends on given decision. But I would start with more like just in summary, list what do you need, and then when you gather the intel, gather the data, act and try. And again, what you have just said about acting, try it if it works or no, and then iterate.
I like that. So essentially, does it means you don't need all the information you need a part of the information. Let's say it's an arbitrary number, but you have 70% of data. Make this decision, try it, and then check what happens. Arbitrary, but
Hmm.
do you understand that correctly?
Yeah, and how you would approach this?
What do you mean?
I mean, in data engineering, I mean, how do you decide which data you're taking or which are left?
Yeah, in data engineering, that's what I do. You talk to this stakeholder, they usually want to give you all the context, everything, essentially make you an expert in their domain. Let's say make you a marketing expert. All you need to know is this specific thing, how it works, more or less. Again, maybe 70% of data, try to get, try to be directionally correct. See how it works, and then you try to nail down the problem, so to speak, the decision, the solution. That's how I approach things. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and again, thank you everybody. There's quite a few people in the room. Thank you for joining. Thank you for uh listening to us. We'd love to take some of your questions, some of your comments. Michael and I are talking about decision making, mental models, how to think clearly and structurally. So yeah, thanks for joining. Uh Now, Michael, you just mentioned writing down. I love that. So, uh, let's say I start this decision log where I, write what decisions I've made. I started today. What are the most important things that I need to record about my choices?
So how I approach logging decisions, I try to just put as much as I know at given time about given things that need to be decided, and also list all my doubts. I mean, all my like unknowns that I have that were known. I mean, at the time, because our brains are tricky, and sometimes they. I mean, our memory is also tricky. So sometimes I didn't remember what was the situation back then. So I try to put as much as I can when it comes to all the unknowns and all the things I didn't know while making the decision, because sometimes it might be obvious afterwards. And I think, oh, I was so stupid. I forget about that. But actually, maybe I didn't forget. But I had just, I mean, I listed that is I known, right? So I think my approach is simple. So basically, when there's any kind of important decision for me, I try to just use I'm using Obsidian for making notes. So I just put hashtag decision and try to write down what I'm deciding on. Mostly for like important decisions. It's not like everything. For small ones as well. But the for the important one, I try to put as much context as I can. And it's not like a magic bullet to solve all your problems, of course. But it's a great tool to reflect on what you are doing, and that's really important thing. So writing your decisions down won't make you a better decision maker. You just put everything what you had and put it on paper, right? But if you reflect on them at some point, you can act like your own mentor for yourself. So your past self becomes a mentor for your future selves, to put it this way. So actually, the best mentor that you need is yourself from the past and someone who make all these mistakes. So writing what you have in mind at given time to decide. But of course, it might work also if you journal your day or something like that. There are some lessons in it as well. But decisions are just moments when you pause and act on something, and it might be just more beneficial place to learn than just journaling on something. So that's my approach to decision log. And I think that was Jeff Bezos who split decisions that we're making to two types. So we've got type A, type 1 decisions and type 2. And type 1 decisions are decisions which are not reversible. And you just cannot reverse them. Like it's like selling your company or marrying your wife, or that might be more reversible, but still complicated. And that second type of decisions which are easy to reverse. And for the easy, you can just be, if it's reversible, you can act a bit less cautiously for them. But I would highly recommend to use decision log for this type A, type 1 decisions where it's really difficult to reverse them, because then you can also learn the most. And while writing decision log, you can also like uncover what you are thinking about this given thing. So decision log is not just what I'm doing and that's my decision, but also like the gathering the context that you have about given thing and writing this down. And still, again, I'm a huge advocate for writing things down just to see your own thoughts. And I think that's a process that can help you see your own thinking and own reasoning and may lead to some improvement. That's essentially what I'm trying to do here, right? So all these mental models, all these tips are just to make us a bit better when it comes to uh, life and work and choices that we are making. Because ultimately, good choices compounds to maybe slightly better everything and bad choices on the way, right?
Yeah, I like that. So it's not just about the decision itself; it's also about the context around this decision.
Hmm.
It's yeah, nice, great. Okay, okay, I like that. So what is, I don't know, one, let's say, truth about decision making that people frequently, misunderstand in that case?
So that's something we already mentioned at some point. So that's the decision is not good decision can result in bad outcome. I think that's important to remember, right? So your decision might be good. I define good decision as something that is clear. That's difficult actually to clearly state right now. But a good decision is something that you are okay with everything what you have checked. You have all the context and you're ready to act without anything that just is behind your mind. That you haven't checked something or anything like that. So that's a good decision. And you also try to like not to wait too long, right? And make it on time and all of that. So I think when it comes to misconceptions about decision making and the myth that I'm trying to bust is that good decision may result bad outcome, and bad decision may result in good outcome. So we need to understand that because otherwise we might perceive our bad decisions as good because they gave us something good, right? Because outcome was great for us. Like with this example, with when you just buy one stock or one company and it goes up and make a lot of money, but actually just buying just one stock might not be a good decision from like a principles of financials and investing. So that's the misconception, and I think that's something that people often confuse, right? And it's like you said about people who are making like only good decisions.
Yeah.
I think it's not like it's not that simple. Some of the decisions were bad, but the outcomes were. So there are people that have all good outcomes along their way. I think that's the myth.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for the people in that case who are watching us right now and want to improve their thinking, their decision making starting today, which is that single habit that would make the best return of investment for them?
I would repeat myself all over, but writing things down, I think this is something that you would predict, Jordan, right? What my answer to these questions. I am a huge advocate of writing things down
Yeah. No,
because
I
I
like
write.
that.
I mean, I like it as well.
Yeah.
But you don't have to write it. You can right now. You can just dictate some things, right? You have transcripts, and you can use all these fancy AI tools that make your voice great, understandable note, and you can also do it this way. And actually, I was also sometimes doing it. It's just walking and having a walk and talking to myself and
Yes.
recording it as a distillation process. Uh, Sometimes talking to other people also distills what you because it's similar to writing, right? Because if you want to tell what you're about to do to your friend, there's also this process of distillation because your thoughts becoming your words. But if you don't have any friends around, you can just sit and write basically what's. I mean, there are different cases, different situations, right? I hope you have friends to whom you can talk about anything. But in general, writing things down is my one thing that can make some difference and can be like you can learn from your own thoughts, and I think that's cool.
Yeah. No, I like that. I'm the same. To me, from my experience, the more I write, the more clearer my thinking becomes, and clearer it becomes, the more I actually start writing, the more I have to write about. So it's more of a circle that once you start it, it's just like a flywheel really. So I like that a lot. And yeah, I'm the same. I started recently using one of these transcription AI tools where I just talk. It helps a lot. One of my team members recently told me about this thing when I told them that if they write more, it would be easier. Literally, the response was, "I didn't come into data engineering to write essays. I'm not a writer. I just want to, do my job." But after they started dictating, actually, job became much clearer because they started seeing all these logs, if you wish, all of these. They started having clearer thinking, but also started looking into the logs. So yeah, that helps a lot in my experience as well.
And I think something that we can both agree on is that when you are writing a newsletter on a Substack, for example, and you put I mean, you're learning some concept and you put it on a written form, it always, I mean, it becomes much clearer to you when you're explaining to someone, right?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I'm sure that this life with all these people, I mean, thanks for joining. This life would be totally gibberish, right? And wouldn't make that much sense if I wouldn't have written about all this concept before. So basically, what I'm saying here to you is something that I've written in the past, basically, and it just became part of my brain right now, and how I describe things. So basically, what I'm saying right now is just something that I've written. So that's also shows and that's huge perk of writing newsletter because you're doing it right. You're trying to distill your thoughts. You're sharing it publicly, so you try to make them not just understandable to you but also to other people, which also makes it clearer, and it also clearer for future. I mean, for your version of your. I mean, you're in the future, right?
Yes.
So I think Jordan, we can agree that writing newsletters is also cool to clarify your thinking.
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of the reasons I started writing as well. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, Michael. So we covered a lot of ground today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience? Something that we haven't touched yet?
I think what's interesting that out of different mental models, and I encourage you to just look through them. I built the whole catalog. It's like more. I mean, in general, all the mental models and all these thinking tips. It's more than 100 articles right now. So it's a lot to cover in general. But I've got one like category of all the mental models that I've written about. When you just open Perspective Ship, you can find them. I think on the Substack you can just click on myself or something, right, to see it. Uh, So I think there's nothing specific I would like to add to the conversation, but it's not like I'm special or something, and I have like superpowers of thinking. Ordinary guy who just tries to make my decisions slightly better, and it's not like a magic pill that will make you, I don't know, billionaire because you will just pick all the best stocks on the market, right? It's just something that makes your decision slightly better. So we are not like reinventing the wheel here. It's just like tiny bits of improvement that you can use on a daily basis, and some really help. And yeah, so the final thing would be just encouragement to get familiar with these thinking codes because they might be useful. There's one controversial one which I like to bring to the table when I have any conversation about meta models. Uh, because at some point in my when I was working as a engineering leader in the company, we had workshops on how to make on how to work with engineers in general. And I started the workshops by saying that today we'll focus on how to make our team miserable, demotivated, and in general unhappy. And everyone, people were surprised. What? I'm crazy or something. What I'm talking about? But it was like inversion. So we tried to list all the things that we should avoid to make our people miserable, and it really helped us because we like listed everything that we should avoid at any cost. So that's inversion, for example, and it's pretty useful. And it can be used to any case, right? For example, how to make this live with people. We've got 29 people listening to us. How to make it really boring and like uninteresting, right? And then we should just avoid it. And I hope that was a good experience for you today. So yeah, that's inversion, for example.
Nice. I love that. I love that. So I guess if we want to learn more from about decision thinking and you know mental models, all of these things, the best way in that case in that place is your newsletter, Perspective Shift. So folks, if you don't, do subscribe to
Yeah,
Michal.
sure.
It's great. Is that everything in that case? Awesome.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks so much, Miss Michal. Thank you for being here. Thank you everybody for joining, and yeah, we really appreciate you. Thank you, and see you another time. Bye,
Thanks for the
everybody.
invitation.
I'm
Bye.
bye.
Hey.